presentation. Okay, so Dalila, over to you.
Assalamualaikum and good evening, everyone. Tonight, I would like to present my Viva on the third article, which is Do We Believe Women Yet? The Battle to End Sexual Harassment. Okay. Okay. We begin with the topic. This article is a convincing argumentative article as it is about people are not believe in women when it comes to sexual harassment. Women should be believed when they are reporting about they have been sexually assaulted, mostly at their own workplace. This article is from New York Times and it was written by Cliff Haberman. He began his career with reporting the New York Post in 1966 and returning to the Times in 1977 as an editor in the Week in Review section. In 2015, among other journalistic honors, he was inducted into the New York Press Club's Hall of Fame. And since 2014, he has written regular Times column accompanying Retro Report. And in 2017 and also 2018, Haberman joined the Times editorial board. As his main issues, which focuses about the feminist issues, culture, politics, and personalities, which this show his expertise to write this article. Next, we move on to the purpose. The purpose of this article is to argue about the issue of sexual harassment at workplace, which is now we can see many bosses at a certain workplace misuse their authority to assault women at their own workplace by suggesting to the woman worker, government, and public, also society, that they need to believe women when women reporting that they have been sexually assaulted by the men at their workplace, and we need to help them to get out from this problem. Next is perspective. Why people? The first point, why people does not believe in women when it comes to sexual harassment is women excessively exaggerate as victims. They like make things up that there are misinterpretations. However, sexual harassment at workplace have been recognized since 1970. So it is mean that sexual harassment is happening among the women workers at their workplace. We also can consider on the woman justification about they have been sexually assaulted first, and after that we can investigate whether their justification is true or not. For the second point, too many women have been brave enough to tell stories about they have been sexually assaulted by men at the workplace. In spite of that, women just want others to know that they are serious about they have been sexually assaulted at the workplace where they did not comfortable with the situation. And then men underestimate level of sexual harassment against women because they lack of awareness with what happening to women around them. And for the last point, there is no witness who can be able to confirm that some of women at their workplace have been sexually assaulted. Nevertheless, when someone who have been sexually harassed, it might happen somewhere that there is no people there. So it is easily for the one who did the harassment to satisfy his pleasure. And then almost 70% of those who have witnessed or who are aware of harassment did nothing to prevent it because they are worried they might lose their job if they open their mouth. And then positioning. Okay, for the first one is women need to be protected, not to be an object to satisfy the sexual desire of men. It is because woman is a weak creature. So as men, they need to be the one who protect women from any danger and do not let them to be the sexual harassment victim. Also, women can do everything by their own self, but to fight with men who are abusing them, they unable to do it because a man is more stronger than woman. Next, sexual harassment is not an act that can be taken lightly by people because it can cause depression, suicide, traumatized, and many more that related to the physical and mental of the victims. As many as 70% of women and 45% of men have experienced some of sexual harassment in the workplace, said Amy Blackstone, a sociologist at University of Maine. And sexual harassment can give a really big impact on the women who have been sexually assaulted. Next, some men underestimate the level of women who have been sexually assaulted. This statement we can see in the biggest misconception were held by Danish, Dutch, and French respondents who underestimate the actual level of harassment in their countries by 49, 35, and 34%. And also in the UK, unions have repeatedly said that low-paid workers were subjected to harassment and abuse so regularly until it became entirely normalized. And then for the impact, the first one is women worker. They will become relieved because they knew that many parties who are responsible in this problem are struggling to help them overcome this problem. So they do not have to be worried. And then the next one is government. The government will realize that they need to find the ways how to end this problem so that the women workers did not afraid anymore to go to work. And the government also played a big role in solving this problem. And the last one is public and society. Sexual harassment does not only happen in the workplace, but it can happen anywhere. So after the public and society read this article about the government wanted to end this and know that the government wanted to end this problem and still in progress to help the society, they will feel safe and no longer need to be afraid of doing anything alone. Okay, the last one is visual literacy. The transformation of battling sexual harassment in the workplace has established from naming the problem in 1970s to bringing it out from the shadow in 1990s to growing the sense of responsibility today. In this modern era, we are still hear from news media many cases about sexual harassment, but why it is still happening? The government did not try to overcome this problem. Many people faced with depression after the sexual harassment victim, depression after being the sexual harassment victim, and there are also some of women have been the victim of men lust since. So why people still underestimate this problem? This is a big problem to the victim of sexual harassment because they are struggling to get up from this problem, but no one believed in them and no one wanted to help them, and people just want them to keep it with themselves, where finally push them to commit suicide, and some of them drown in depression and anxiety. Okay, I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, a very insightful presentation. So we will now move on to our Q&A session. Okay, So I would like to ask the panelists, okay, if you have anything to say, can you please raise your hand now? Okay, so our first volunteer is Myra Ifa Shafika. Okay, Dalila, can you please exit your screen? Thank you.
Okay, wait now.
Okay, welcome, Myra. Are you ready, Dalila?
Hello. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
I think that I would like to mention about the reliability of the author, because as what I have seen in your paper, you have said that the author has main focus on feminism. So can you show me like if you have any proof of articles that he has written that declared his intention of main focus of feminism? That's the first one. The second one is I would like to prove a logical fallacy, because since the main issue of the article is about feminism, and feminism is about equal sexes, meaning that all men and women is same. But what you have said in your positioning is that women is weak and should be protected, and it does not correlate to the logical meaning of feminism itself. So I would suggest you to maybe change it a bit. That's all for me.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, any response, Dalila?
Okay, for the first question that Mira gave, that she want to see the any article that related to feminism, which is I have stated that in the author in the source. Wait, I want to share that what I have found in the I think this is one of the article that Clint Haberman write about feminism. Is it this is about a woman, murdered case of woman that become a symbol of urban apathy. And then another one is code name Jane, the woman behind a covered abortion. It's about abortion become legal. Can clandestine group help women with unwanted pregnancy get around the law? I think that's all. Okay.
Okay, so what do you think about your statement just now, where you speak about how woman is, is weaker sexes than men? So do you think this is against the principle of feminism, which ask equality between men and women? Dalila, any response?
For me, I think it's we can what I can say is woman is weak in terms of like that women's they cannot fight with the because they cannot fight with the men strong man strength. It's like when a man try to hold them tightly, that woman is too weak to.
Okay, you mean in terms of physical
Yes,
strength?
in terms of physical, yes.
All right, okay, thank you, Dalila. All right, so we're going to hear from Hasmira. Hasmira, are you ready to join us? Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum Dalila.
Salam.
I would like to suggest something on your second perspective. When you said too many women have been brave enough to tell stories, and that point, I think it's better to change it to something like the woman enjoy it, because I believe that you agree with the author.
Mm-hmm.
So that perspective feels like it doesn't come from the people that doesn't care about sexual harassment. That's all. That's the only thing that I would like to comment.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, do you have any response, Dalila? No.
I think I agree with Hasmira.
Okay, thank you. Right. Okay, so now we are going to hear from Fatiha. Okay, Fatiha, go right ahead.
Assalamualaikum Nadila.
Salam.
So I have a POI for you. So your topic is focusing on women, but how about your view in the impact that the men also face, that the men is also face the sexual harassment. So what is your view on men?
Okay. On my view, I think anyone can be the sexual harassment victim. Not only for women but also men. This is because when men get into sexual harassment, people will people will look people will look at the problem as because uh, it seldom happen when men get into the men be the sexual harassment victim, but men I think it it logically can happen because someone who did sexual harassment, they they are desperate to satisfy their lust because when there is no woman there, men also can be the victim. I think that's all.
Okay, thank you. Right. Now we are going to hear from Nadira. Okay, she'll be right with us. Okay, Nadira. Okay, here she is. Okay, over to you, Nadira. Go ahead.
Sekejap. Assalamualaikum Nadila, can you hear me?
Yes. Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, so I have a POI regarding your first positioning. You said that the woman should be protected, but nowadays, your view towards nowadays, the men take the opportunity as protecting the woman instead of protecting them. They will use the woman as their satisfaction for their lust. So, what is your view upon that situation?
Okay, thank you for the question. I think women also should be aware and know how to differentiate between between someone who want to protect them and someone who want to take opportunity on them. And then because it is different when someone who want to take care of you and someone who want to take opportunity on you. We can differentiate it physically on how they treat us and how they act in front of us. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Dalila. Okay, so that's the end of your session. We will now continue our presentation with Batrisha Shazwana. Batrisha, just give me 1 minute to turn everybody into attendees. Okay, and then we can start. Okay, we are now going to move on with our second presenter, Batrisha Shazwana. So she'll be speaking about the issue of homework. Over to you, Batrisha. The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Assalamualaikum and good evening to everyone. So my article is why I think all schools should abolish homework, which mainly focused on excessive homework should be abolished in all schools. So let's begin with the first one topic. So this article is a balanced argumentative essay written by Vicky Ebelis on the importance of excessive homework to be abolished in promoting better quality of life to the children. So the author claims that extreme homework is troublesome to the children and it should be abolished by the government since it has been a burden to them and also affecting their childhood journey. So next for the source, Vicky Ebelis is actually a well-known author, speaker, youth advocate, and also a filmmaker. Her films are able to inspire many communities to overcome many communities concerning education policies and practices that affect students' health, and also their meaningful learning. Other than that, one of her films, which entitled Race to Nowhere, also portrays how our obsessiveness, especially parents and teachers, towards educational achievement culture, which leave a huge impact on children's health, growth, and also learning. Okay, so now I will move on to the purpose. Wait, sorry. Okay, so this article is purposely written to argue to the readers, especially the Minister of Education, teachers, parents, and also students, concerning the impact of excessive homework towards the individual, which here specifically students. So we will begin with the first perspective, which is homework is a beneficial additional practice for the students since not all of the information can be received by them during any lessons in class. However, excessive homework daily received by the students make them overwork to finish the homework. Because even top scientists or professionals in any specialized fields, they will limit their time in order to be more concentrate or focused in their work. So children tend to lose their children opportunities because of doing too much homework daily. For instance, because of doing too much homework, they not have enough time to do any other beneficial activities, including doing physical activities. So from the research here, it said that after around 4 hours of homework per week, the additional time invested in homework actually leave a negative impact on the students' performances in their academic. So my number two perspective is parents will get the chance to be involved with their child's learning through homework. So that's why it is important. Nevertheless, most parents nowadays prefer to set homework as rules for their children at home rather than just as an additional activities practice. Sorry. So, for example, we can see that mostly parents nowadays they will strictly tell their children to finish their homework first before they are able to even go to eat or play or even do any other kind of activities. So, because they are too concerned about their children education, which they actually put their children in term of competition, uh, something like that. So next, the children are exposed to continuous stress or depression whenever they focus too much on homework. So next, students will be more responsible through homework since it is essential part of learning. However, most teachers nowadays prefer to give too much homework with the hope to improve their academic results. And one of the negative impacts of it, when students fulfill their responsibility to finish the task, they tend to sacrifice their other activities and willing to abandon their health in order to succeed in academic. As long as they finish their homework, then it will be okay. So let's move on to positioning. Number one, homework needs to be reduced in all schools since it disturbs the growth of the children. It can be seen from most surveys that children give up on their childhood opportunities because of focusing too much on academic. They have to go through long hours of working on their assessment, which also can be considered similar to the overtime working hours for laborers. Next, excessive homework can actually affect the children's health and development because they tend to study for the entire day and spend less time for any other beneficial activities, including physical exercises, which is essential for their well-being. They will feel mentally and physically tired throughout the day due to the long hours of working on their assignment. The last one, the pressure of excessive homework can actually expose the children to depression due to the continuous stress. It is because children also need readable schedule to live their lives as a normal human being, and it will also help them to actually understand and focus better on the subject. The reduce of homework will also leave negative impact towards their academic performances. Okay, so for the impact, firstly, parents will be more understanding to their children, stop pushing them too much on academic by doing endless homework, and also will no longer put their children in competition in terms of education. Next, students will be at knowledge of the importance to balance their daily lives without focusing only for the homework. And for the Minister of Education, they will be convinced to abolish extra homework in all schools in order to prevent students from continuous stress and pressure. And last but not least, teachers will consider to reduce the amount of homework and assignments given and let them experience a balanced daily lives as youngsters. Okay, so the last one for visual literacy, the caption is mandatory homework push children to overwork beyond their school day, which is similar to overtime work for any laborers. So, as we can see in the picture, the visual actually explains the author's point of view on homework should be abolished in schools and prove the stance of the author in agreeing this statement. So, in the picture, it shows that two boys with the laptops in the dark environment, which give an explanation of children staying up late at night in order to finish their homework and studying. It also symbolizes the overwork faced by the children beyond their school hours, which also affect their mental and physical health. So I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we'll move on to the Q&A. We have our first volunteer, and our first volunteer is Nadiga. Okay, she'll be joining us now. Okay, Nadiga, go ahead.
Your perspective number 3. Can you prove to me that the children will do the healthy activities, such as spending time with family members, if they were not given the excessive homework?
Actually, I cannot prove them except for the parents. But basically, from many surveys, it shows that because of the excessive homework given to the children, they eventually spend their time doing work in the room rather than having normal daily lives with their family members. Um, it actually what we call it actually continues until the midnight and to the next morning until they actually finish their homework. And we can also see that children nowadays, they tend to refuse if their parents ask them to go for an evening walk or even for picnic because they use the excuse of they have tons of homework to be finished. So is that answering your question?
Don't you think that if they don't have homework, they will do something like playing gadgets or other things that is not healthy.
Yes, it may be true, but as a children, there it's some of what do we call is our normal. Is it? I don't think we call it as habit. But somehow, when we go through the childhood journey, um, we actually have this attitude to actually play outside or play with our friends, or maybe for the new generation nowadays they prefer to play with their gadgets, but uh, homeworks actually also disturb their time for eat to eat. Like they tend to skip their meals, or maybe they eat but not according to the right time because of focusing too much on homework. Same goes to the bond with the other family members because of being too focused on homework. Homework is important, but excessive homework is actually dangerous and a bit troublesome to the children.
Okay, thank you. Right. So our next panelist is Maiga. Go ahead, Maiga.
Okay, so hello, Nana. So
Hi.
I have two things. First is I would like to maybe uh, amend your because I would say because your prepositioning is most probably would be wanting to ban about the homework, but then again as we transition into your perspective and positioning, I could see that you are more to wanting to reduce the homework. So I think that you should maybe amend your positioning in the words that you were to choose. So second is a PUI. So we all the PUI said like because we all know that homework is given for students to revisit and know what they have learned in future that they understand. So do you have any suggestions that if we ban homework, that what would you suggest to ensure the kids would actually that would actually we know if the kids understand what they learned before in school?
Okay,
That's
thank
all.
you, Mira. So for the first one, I accept your amendment. And for the suggestion, we believe there are actually other alternatives, such as maybe the teachers can actually can separate the learning session with the additional practice session in class. Or another alternative is the schools can provide 1 hour extra class for the students in order to do additional practices. So it won't bother them to overwork beyond their school session per week. Okay, as a proof here, um, wait, as a proof here, it can be seen from Mike Miller, an English teacher in Alexandria. He actually decided to limit the assignments given to his students to only 20 minutes per night. And surprisingly, it doesn't actually affect his students' performances because their results are remain stable, which means it doesn't decrease at all, and they actually have better quality of life. They have a readable schedule to do work creatively. That answers your
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right. Our next panelist is Hasmiga. Go ahead, Hasmiga.
Assalamualaikum Nana.
Waalaikumsalam.
Actually, I have the same idea with Amira, which I believe that throughout your slides, it seems like you are trying to ban homework, and you have answered some of my questions, which is the amount of time that should be given to students that could give better result if it is not an excessive homework, which is 20 minutes, right? So,
That's important.
so what if we give less homework? Do you think that if we lessen the time of us as a student to school, is it better to improve our knowledge or something other than stop giving homework. Like we don't have to go to school from morning to evening.
Okay. I will try to answer your question. Okay, first of all, I'm sorry because the title of the article is actually a bit confusing because it stated that why I think all schools should abolish homework, while the content, it is more to actually, the main idea is to abolish excessive homework in all schools. Because the author also stated that homework is actually beneficial, but because of the excessive homework given, a negative impact toward the children. So, for your question, is it lessen the homework?
No, it's actually less than the time that we go to school as I learned one of the best, they have the best student in the world. They go to school around like 3 hours. So do you think that it's better to lessen the time we go to school rather than stop giving homework?
I think it will be different throughout the country because island students and Malaysian students are different. As we can see from our syllabus itself, Malaysian students tend to learn more subject, right, compared to students in other countries. In overseas, they only focus on certain subjects. So for us, which especially for SPM students, which contain various type of subject and mhm, various type of subject. There's too lot, which means that if we actually lessen the hours of school, the hours of classes in schools, it will distract the process of learning because the teachers it might be almost impossible for the teachers to finish the whole syllabus in the given period. So I believe for this, especially for students in Malaysia, it is more beneficial for the government to actually reduce the homework given in school because of because of the statements before. And for the Mike Miller, it is just an example that he would like to do experiments where the lesson hours of homework given or the lessons homework given will actually affect the students' performances or not.
All right. Thank you. Right. Next, who is on the line is Fatiha. Fatiha, go ahead.
So, hi Nana.
Hi.
I have a POI for you. So, what is your view on student academic achievement if homework is being banned? So, let's focus this on the student that will face a big exams. Are you sure that they will excel in their exams if they don't have any homework? That's all.
Okay, so like the one I'm answering to Amira just now, there are various other alternatives that can be done in order to overcome this issue, including that it's not like we fully abolish the homework, but the government and the schools need to ensure that the homework shouldn't be given beyond the school hours per week, which is too lot. So, as for the suggestion, maybe the teachers they can actually what we call it separate the learning lessons and also give some time like maybe 20 minutes to 30 minutes per class or per day for their students to do the homework. So during that time, the teacher will monitor them and give extra because homework actually we believe that homework helps for the students to understand better beyond the learning session, right? So the teacher will be there and monitor they doing the exercises. Or as another alternative mentioned before, the school can provide extra classes, which doesn't exceed like 2 to 3 hours, maybe just for 1 hour and a half for daily. because some surveys prove that this method actually helps the students to understand any subject better because they have more bearable schedule and they're not being too exhausted in learning.
All right, thank you. And our last question is from Nurul Shahira. Nurul Shahira, go ahead.
Okay. Hello, Nana. Can you hear me? Okay.
Um,
Okay. I have a few questions, which is
can you speak louder?
oh, is it too slow? Okay. Okay. How do these children want to evaluate their achievement towards their education in terms of knowledge and their thinking level? And can they only depends on only during a class session, because most of the students are kindly easily get distracted during class. So what is the solution that we can, how do they need to evaluate their education?
Okay, so to overcome this problem, uh, teachers actually still need to give them additional exercise, but it shouldn't be exceed beyond their school hours, which means maybe it can be reduced to they can actually set time from how many hours per day, hours, some time for the students to actually do the practices and then submit it to the teacher. So from that, the teachers, students, and also the parents can still evaluate that particular student's performances in academic, whether they understand or not. But it's just that we try to reduce the amount of homework given to the children.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Shazwana, that's the end of your session. So we will now begin with the new session. And our last presenter is Sarah Akila. Now she's going to talk about a very current issue. It's about anti-vaccine movement. Sarah Akila, go right ahead.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. You may begin.
May I start now?
Yes.
Okay. Assalamualaikum and a very good evening. So today I will present my third article entitled How to Inoculate Against Anti-Vaxxers. So the topic for this article, it is an argumentative article which argues about anti-vaxxers has influenced people for not taking vaccines, which has led to the decrease of health status. The author's stance is claims that vaccine hesitancy in America is leading in global health threats. For the source, this article is written on New York Times website. In the opinion section, written by the editorial board. Editorial board consists a group of journalists with their own field of expertise. New York Times is also known for their reliability because if they are aware with any mistakes or error that they make, they will immediately correct the mistake and put the disclaimer both on the print edition and on the website. Zainab Interlandi is the author who is responsible for this article. She has a Bachelor Art in Biology, Master Art in Environmental Science, and Master Science in Journalism, both from Columbia University. For her work experience, as you guys can see here, her work mostly involved in health, science, and journalism. She has worked as a scientist and formulated a vaccine itself in the pharmaceutical lab. She also is one of the co-writer for the college textbook. Before she joined New York Times, she worked at Pulitzer Traveling Grantee, a non-profit organization which partners with journalists to focus on in-depth reporting about the global issue. In May 2018, she joined the New York Times as both a member of the editorial board and a staff writer for the magazine. Next, for the purpose, this article is written to argue about the importance of taking vaccines as proposed by the author, and the escalating of anti-vaxxers has triggered the health status by suggesting the idea to the parents, health practitioner, and to the CDC. Nevertheless, public need to acknowledge that vaccination helps in preventing contagious disease and harmful illness as well as save lives. For the first perspective, giving a child multiple vaccination for different diseases at the same time can increase the risk of harmful side effect. Nevertheless, the side effect the anti-vaxxers claim is actually common side effect that people used to get when getting a shot, such as lower grade fever and so on. Studies conducted by WHO shown that the combination of vaccination do not bring any greater negative side effect. In addition, there are only lower percentage and chances for each of the patients who decide to vaccinate to get worse symptoms, and there are no evidence that it is because of vaccines itself. Some people choose not to vaccinate themselves because they are worried about the side effect of the vaccination, but choosing not to immunize is the riskier choices. Next, vaccines contain carcinogen ingredients such as thimerosal, aluminum, and formaldehyde that can lead to death. However, the substances that are added to enhance the immune system response is in order to prevent contamination during the process. Means that there are only lower percentage of these substances. CDC and FDA also state that vaccines are one of the safest medicine available. This is because before the vaccines can be licensed, it will go through several test lab and make sure that it works. These chemicals also are not as harmful as one might believe. Our body has exposed from these dangerous substances from various food and through other products. For example, aluminum present in water and milks. For the formaldehyde, we consume it when eating fruit such as pear or apple. Last but not least, vaccines preventable disease have been eliminated in certain countries, thus making it impractical to urge everyone, especially in developed countries, to take vaccination. Nevertheless, some of the diseases are still common in other countries, and the chances of getting the disease is higher as if you do not have the protection. Travel from overseas can unconsciously bring the disease, and if the community there is not protected with vaccination, it might cause the epidemic there. According to the research by Australian Health Department in 2011, a 22-year-old woman died of diphtheria. She was unvaccinated and got the disease from a friend who had returned from overseas travel. So this shows that even our country does not have that particular disease, we still need to take vaccination from that vaccine. For the positioning, firstly, the increasing of vaccination preventable disease is not because of lack of technology, but because of certain people who refuse to vaccinate their children. According to the Predate survey of fellows, the increasing of refusal and requests for alternative vaccines indicate that there are still significant barriers that need to overcome in order to convince the parents that vaccination is safe. This is because there are still parents that believe that chemical substances in vaccination is linked to physical disability. Because of parents who refuse to vaccinate their children, WHO believes that vaccine hesitancy is one of the contributors to the health threats nowadays. Next, anti-vaxxers have dominated pro-vaccine in giving information about vaccination and health, which able to influence the mindset of the society regarding the issue. This can be seen where the voices such as the Jenny McCarthy proven to be influential, which makes parents thinking that vaccination does link to the autism. This also has caused vaccination rate to decrease in some Western countries, which could lead to recent outbreaks of disease that were thought to be eliminated, such as measles. Vaccine also save life and prevent against the spread of disease. According to WHO, vaccines prevented at least 10 billion deaths between 2015 and many millions more lives were protected from the illness they associated with disability. Some diseases that in the past which has injured or killed thousands of children have been eliminated completely. One of the examples of the great impact of vaccines that happened in the United States is polio. Polio is a disease where it can cause death and paralysis to your body. For the impact, this article will give positive impact to the parents as they become more conscious about vaccination issue and the pseudo-scientific the anti-vaxxer use. they also acknowledge that online information can be misleading. Next, for the doctors and or health practitioner, it will also give positive impact to them as they realize that the importance of educating public. Some people who refuse to take vaccination might only because they only hear about the drawback of vaccination. Thus, it is their job to make sure that public know about the importance of taking vaccines. Last but not least, this article will also give positive impact to CDC, Center for Disease Control, as they know that they do not have voice to spread about vaccination issue, which contribute to the declining of health as people not relying to them in finding information. So it is their job to make their website be recognized as main reliable website. So for the visual literacy, it is referring to the developing of anti-vaccines has been recognized as one of the top 10 heart threats as people refuse to take vaccination because of anti-vaccine movement that deliver false information. Um, but actually, people who do not vaccinate themselves can be easily accessible from disease exposure and will also affect people around them. The visual there shows that the people inside the syringe represent anti-vaccine community, showing that they are pushing away the shrink out, means that they are refused to take vaccination. I think that's all from me. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
so we'll now proceed with the Q&A. So first volunteer is Rajunur Zarif Putri. And here she comes. Okay, here she is. We're still waiting for her. Okay, I think Putri has a problem with the connection. Okay, so okay, all right, there she is.
Hello,
Okay, hello. All right, go ahead.
can you
Yes, we can.
hear my voice? Can you hear my voice?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, hello. I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
How the hospital or the World Health Organization can help the person that doesn't want to do the vaccine?
Okay, thank you for the question. To take vaccination is to maybe doing a talk or campaign for them to realize the importance of taking vaccination. Is that answering your question?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we now have Fatiha on the line. Go ahead, Fatiha.
Yes, Sarah. So
Yes.
I have a POI for you.
Okay.
My question is quite similar with Putri, but I want to ask you, we as a
Yes.
public, how we can help to change the thinking of the anti-vaccines and make them to stop from keep influencing people that do not need vaccines in their lives because they think that they can stay healthy even without vaccines. So, do you have any suggestions?
I think for the firstly, we know that anti-vaccination movement is already exist for a long time ago. So in order to convince them, one of the other way that we could do is to always to raise awareness by maybe showing to them the statistic or facts that if we do not apply vaccination, there will be an epidemic or disease happen. Other than that, we we as a pro-vaccine could not like go went against the anti-vaccine and convince them harshly, but we need to maybe showing about the consequences of not taking vaccines. Is that answering your questions?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Shahira, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. Okay,
Salam.
okay, I have a few opinions to share about regarding about this topic. Okay, can you hear my voice?
No, it's a bit slow. Can you please louder?
Okay, okay. Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Most of the parents think that vaccination is no for them because it really opposite to their norms and religion. They believe that any disease that can lead to death or any disease is something that they cannot avoid uh, from, and what is the best solution that should be taken to change their mindset regarding of the importance of the vaccination. Okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the question. It is true that certain anti-vaccination group or movement uh, does does not want to take vaccines because of religious issue. But WHO and even in Islam, we have a fatwa that saying that we have to take vaccination not only to protect ourselves but also to protect other people. We know that one of the most important things in Islam is we need to take care of our life, right? So if we can prevent this, we should do we should do that. Means that if we can prevent measles to attack our children, we should take vaccination. Um, because we need in Islam it is important for us to save life, right? Um, and can you could you please repeat your question about the second question?
Or is it the solution that should be taken for the parents to change their mindset about the importance of vaccination?
Okay, thank you. Certain parents or community who doesn't believe vaccines is because it doesn't happen to them yet. So I think my answer would be the same, which is to convince them by showing them the statistic or research from other country. Or if you know that currently Philippines is chaos right now because of the measles outbreak there. And for the past 2 weeks, 70 children died because of the vaccination rates decrease. So I think that this may help them to believe that vaccination is actually help their children to live. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, Nadira, your turn now.
So I have a POI for you. Can you hear me?
Could you please louder?
Can you hear me?
Yes, okay.
So you said that vaccination has saved many lives in 100 years ago, but can you persuade me that it does happen nowadays? How can
Could you please repeat your question? I could not hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my question is, can you prove to me that the vaccination that can save many lives does happen to save the human's life nowadays?
Okay, thank you for the questions. Um, as I said earlier, for your information, currently Philippines is chaos because of the measles outbreak. It happened because of the vaccination rates. Right now, we doesn't hear that much disease that can disease that can be prevented by the vaccines because because generally there are many people that still believe in vaccination function. So if I would answer your question, I think nowadays there are not too much proof saying that vaccination can save life. But I would like to show you one of the statistics that I found. Um, wait. Um, wait a minute. So, okay.
Good to share. Okay,
Can
good.
you
Yes, we can see
can
it.
you see this statistic, Nadira? Okay. So this is the statistic from United States saying that smallpox, when vaccine was introduced in United States, uh, at that time there are 29,000 cases, but with the introduction of vaccines, currently there are no reports of vaccination. Other than that, I will about the polio vaccine introduced. Vaccine was introduced in 1955, and right now there are no reports at all about polio. And uh, actually, um, in our aim right now is to make sure that there are no vaccines preventable disease that can be prevented by vaccines. But there are two countries that still has the this disease, which is, if I'm not mistaken, Afghanistan and Pakistan. This actually happened because of the anti-vaccine movement. I think you can see here that vaccines really help in saving life. Is that answering your questions?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, welcome.
Okay, right. So that's the end of the session for Sarah Hakila, and it is also means it's the end of our Viva presentation. Okay, so
Okay.
a job well done for everyone. Okay, thank you very
Okay.
much for your participation. So please remember, you can get extra credit by going to YouTube. So this particular video is recorded. Okay, so I'm going to upload this video on YouTube. So you can leave your comments or leave your question on the comment section of the YouTube video, and so the presenters can respond to your comments or your question. Okay, so thank you very much. I'll see
Thank you.
you in your next session. Okay, all right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night and bye bye. Okay, bye.